Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons breakdown video with myself and Sloth today. This one, a player that most of you are probably aware of watching West Ham. It's Taiwo Awoniyi of Nottingham Forest, obviously playing in the Premier League for the last couple of seasons now, Sloth. It's a player you've mentioned to me before about targeting, for the last year or so. He's still only 26, about to turn 27 in August, but it's now coming out that we're linked with him. So it's an interesting one to come out with this. I think we are looking for a striker. That's inevitable. And it may be that a Premier League signing might, we said it before, a Premier League striker might have to kind of do for this summer with all of the other stuff that we need, just so Lopetegui has that kind of proven Prem player to lead the line for us, as well as Antonio. So, yeah, I want you, we're going to get into it, but he's had kind of a mixed time with injuries, which will also explain as to why that is. But again, last season you can see here for Forest, he only made 20 appearances in the league with 6 goals and 3 assists, so almost a goal or assist every other game, which is a very impressive return. And then you can kind of see here his progression. So obviously started in Mainz or Mainz, as you want to say it, back in the Bundesliga a few years back now. Only played 12 games for them, then moved on to Union Berlin, where he played most of his football. Scored a decent amount of goals there as well. Then he moved on to Forest, where again he scored 10 goals in his first season with Forest. Again, only 27 appearances out of 38 in the league. And then again this season he's scored 6 goals from 20 games. So it's not crazy numbers, but as well he did have groin surgery halfway through this season as well. So could we just explain that, because people will immediately be saying, okay, he's injury, prone. We shouldn't be going near him. What's the story behind that one, Sloth?
It paints a bad picture. It's not true. Before he moved to Forest, he had a pretty clean injury record. The odd game missed here and there, 2 or 3 with a knock, something like that. He picked up a groin injury with Forest, and it's very much felt that they rushed him back too early. And that's why it deteriorated to the point where he needed surgery on it. So I think when we're talking about him, having injury issues, it kind of it's a non-issue in my opinion. I think what is important is the fact that he has the type of qualities that we need in a striker, that big pace, the power, and also the finishing ability. You mentioned that he has pretty much a goal every other game. 6 goals in 1,000 minutes of football. That's really impressive. And I think that when you look at the type of striker he is, while at Forest, they've tended to be a bit more of a set piece side and utilising his pace with through balls. At Union, he was very much a player that he was their focal point, and he would also have to carry the ball. So he might knock it past someone, he might use his body to turn and then create a bit of distance between him and the centre-back. He was their outlet, and that should be music to West Ham fans' ears, because for so long we've spoken about strikers who can only play a certain way and didn't fit a certain system. And I think when you look at Awoniyi, one of his big assets is that he is a threat regardless, because he has the assets, the finishing ability, the pace, the strength, the size, and aerial ability to score goals regardless of how you want to play. And I think when we're looking at the fact he's homegrown as well, because he came through Liverpool's academy before he moved out into the Bundesliga, that's a massive factor as well for us in this summer window. And I think once you see the whole picture, this is the sort of player that we should have been signing ideally when he was at Union. But if he becomes available from Forest, with this £20 million financial fair play ruling they need to make, then that's the sort of deal we should be all over.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, as you mentioned, he is homegrown, which is a huge plus, huge benefit for what we're trying to do this summer. Obviously, you say he's still only 26, about to turn 27 in August, so it's kind of hitting those peak years as a striker. But you've got at least 3 or 4 really solid years out of him if you do want to sign him now. And again, we'll get onto the price point of what we think we would pay, etc., at the end of this video. But in terms of his statistics, as always, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So this is when it comes to his shooting. As you can see here, he's averaging, a goal, 0.52 goals per 90, which is pretty high. Again, it's kind of skewed because he's only played half the games this season, and a
Yeah.
lot of those have been on the bench with limited minutes. 1,000 minutes isn't a lot at all. But to score, 6 goals and get 3 assists in that period is really good. And you can kind of see here, he's averaging a goal every kind of 4 shots, and then a goal every 2 shots on target. So it kind of gives you an indication as to he's actually pretty clinical. 50% of his shots are on target and average shot distance for around 11 yards. So he's someone that wants to be in the box. He's someone that wants to be clinical inside those moments. And that's what you need to be in the Premier League, man. You just have to take your chances because teams will punish you now. It's getting to a point where you just have to be clinical, or you will suffer as a team. And I think West Ham were kind of evidence of that last season, just gone, sorry, where we were very clinical in the first few months of the season, and we were outperforming what our XG was. As soon as we stopped being clinical, as soon as we stopped, scoring goals, as simple as it sounds, we stopped progressing. We dipped down in the table. So it's definitely an important factor. How would you be looking to play Awoniyi if he was to join West Ham? Slough, I know you mentioned he can play kind of, running in behind. He's got pace. He can also be that kind of focal point with the likes of, if it was Kudus, Bowen, etc., kind of buzzing off him. So would you probably opt for the latter?
I think so. I think his passing and link up play overall, it's not terrible. But I think that when you are looking at the fact you will have Kudus and Bowen running off him, that is probably going to get you more goals than just if you feed a ball into him.
Yeah.
I think the quality around him, no disrespect to Forest, those players are a level above what Forest have, in my opinion. And I think, particularly in terms of goals, if we were to look to get the best out of him, I would want him really bullying the last man. You could say it would be similar to how we play Antonio now.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, if he sees that chance to just run and stretch the defence, he will take it. And while I think that you could say he sort of fits a counter-attacking mould, it's again that versatility and adaptability to a system that I think if you were to just basically say, look, go out there, you're probably going to be coming on off the bench. You've got 20 minutes, go out there and basically bully their centre-backs as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, you start next week, you start in the cup, whatever it might be. I think that's the best way to get a result from him and hopefully lay a claim for that number one striker position.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think as well, we said before, he's not like a creative number 9. I don't think he's, that type of player. He's someone that's going to score goals. And again, the way Forrest played, obviously the limited minutes he does have with his stats is, you can kind of see here, he's pretty low on the passes completed, etc. But again, it would be the same if he was playing for West Ham last season under David Moyes, because our striker doesn't have much of the ball. So these stats look bad in terms of passing. But again, it's the type of system he was playing in, and the type of player. To be honest, he's not that type of player. So I'm not going to go too far into these statistics on the passing, but this is something that I want to pay a little bit of attention to. It's kind of goal and shot creation. So it's not just, goals and assists. He will do other stuff. Like you say, he will be that focal point to disrupt and create goal creating actions. And you can kind of see there, he's in the high percentiles for things like fouls drawn, goal creating actions. He's pretty high up in that regard. So he's someone that's going to draw fouls. He's someone that's going to be able to win you points and win you games in more ways than just, playing the best pass for an assist or scoring a really good goal. He's someone, like you say, is going to be that focal point. And, people will say, he at Forest, he kind of has those players similar to Kudus and Bowen. He's got Morgan Gibbs White, he's got Alanga, he's got Hudson-Odoi. So he does have that quality around him, to be honest. It's just, again, the groin surgery and the injuries is kind of what's prevented him, in my opinion, from scoring kind of 15 to 20 goals for Forest. I really do think that. And under Lopetegui stuff, do you think it would work? Because I think we've kind of seen a recurring theme with the strikers we're being linked with, this summer, and they're kind of all fitting the similar mold of being that focal point, and it looks like we're trying to get wingers with pace around that target man. how much do you realistically think we'd have to pay for someone like Awoniyi, whose contract doesn't expire till 2027? It's rumored that he's on around £50,000 per week on his wages. And yeah, as I said, he's just turning 27 in a couple of months. So how much would you expect us to pay, and how much would you be willing to pay for this deal?
I think they'd be wanting about 25 million for him. I think they'd want to get basically the entire financial fair play sum that they have to worry about out the way in one hit. You know,
Yeah.
particularly if it's him, if they're going to have to sell one of their assets, I think it would be remiss of me to suggest they wouldn't want the full amount in one go just from him. So 25 million pounds or 20 million pounds, I think, gets you him, just because they can keep their kind of more reliable assets in that way. Personally, I think that's a good deal. My only caveat to that is that if I'm thinking about a striker who kind of fits again a similar mold, has just been relegated and might fit that sort of ability, Adebayo at Luton is someone who we know is on, not even half those wages. He's young, he's homegrown, and he can do those things. He can be a bully up the top of the pitch, but he can also, be that pacey outlet and chase lost causes. So from a remotely business sense of view, I think that's where I'd balance it up. And if he's available for around £15 million, because Luton don't tend to have long contracts, they don't tend to give them out just because of this financial, well, I think they kind of plan for relegation.
Yeah.
And if he's available for around that price, I'd probably just go for him, to be honest with you. If not just because the fitness issues around him aren't as big, in my opinion. The groin is a tricky one. And while I said earlier we shouldn't read too much into it, it's the kind of thing that West Ham would do. And suddenly he snaps his groin. It's once bitten, twice shy with West Ham. But I do think if he were to join, it would be a very good signing for around 20 to 25 million pounds. And hopefully it would mean that we can move Ings on. And, we've saved a bit on the wages. We'll have taken a financial hit on him, but it would have covered a good chunk of it. And hopefully maybe enough to bring in another striker as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think 20 million is probably where I'd want to stop. Just again, as you say, there are nuances to what happened with his groin, but the fact of the matter is he has had groin surgery. It's definitely something we need to be a little bit wary of. But as you say, Adebayo is a very good comparison. The same age, very similar in terms of the statistics when we were looking as well. So yeah, I think there's definitely options out there other than Awoniyi, but I think it would be a good signing if we did get it for kind of 20 million. And as you say, if we offset Danny Ings for some of that cost as well, you're doing a good deal there, and you're not relying on Antonio to play 90 minutes as well, which is also another bonus. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think of the link to Awoniyi of Nottingham Forest. And yeah, if you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to leave a like on the video as well. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. We're trying to push for 3K subs before the end of this summer, which is a big ask. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And yeah, Sloth, until the next one.
Come on, you eyes.